Good morning. Welcome everyone. I'm Councillor Steve Pitt, Leader of Council and also Cabinet Member for Culture, Leisure and Economic Development. This meeting is being webcast to allow the public to attend remotely if they so wish. Please be advised that the public seating area is not in view of the camera used to webcast this meeting. Bit of housekeeping: if the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room and public gallery by the stairwells. Do not attempt to use the lifts. Please assemble in front of Queen Victoria's statue in Guildhall Square. In order to comply with the Guildhall Trust Fire Marshal regulations, anyone who signed in at the Guildhall reception desk will sign out when leaving the building at the end of today's meeting. May I draw everyone's attention to the fact that this meeting will be live streamed. Everyone speaking will be on camera. Members of the press and public are also permitted to record the meeting on the understanding it neither disrupts the meeting nor records those stating explicitly that they do not wish to be recorded. Please can everyone use the microphones and remember to switch them off when they've finished, and unlike full council, you are in control of your mics. Any apologies for absence, Lisa? No? Okay, thanks very much. Members, any declarations of interest? No, in which case we'll go round and do introductions, starting with Lisa.
Lisa Gallagher from Democratic Services.
Mark Woolnow, Recreation Manager in Culture.
Jackie Clark, Cemeteries Manager, Culture.
Claire Watkins, Business Manager, Culture and Leisure.
Hannah Thompson, Countryside Officer, Culture.
Donna Cook, Countryside Officer, Culture.
Claire Liddell, Service Development Manager for Libraries and Archives.
Dave Percival, Library and Archive Service Manager.
Good morning, Chair. John Smith, Eastern Craneswater.
Morning, Chair. Councillor Rossa Simpson, Hilsey Ward.
Morning. Councillor Mary Vallely for Cusham.
Morning, members. Welcome, officers. Okay, moving straight on, we have item 3 on the agenda today, which is Bookfest 2023. Claire, is that you?
Good morning. So 2023 was the 13th annual Portsmouth Bookfest, and it marked a return to an almost entirely in-person festival following the pandemic. A 3-week festival was presented across a wide range of locations in Portsmouth, from Wimmering to Southsea. Following feedback from the previous year to continue to offer a small selection of online events, we presented 2 events using the Zoom video conferencing platform. Audiences appeared to be delighted to be attending in-person events again, with audience satisfaction at most events very high. This year, for the first time, the first week of the festival was dedicated entirely to children's events for the half-term holiday, and this was a great success, with almost all the events fully booked and receiving positive feedback. And the week saw engagement from children and families across the whole city, with events held at Cosham and North End libraries as popular as similar events in the south of the city. Attendance at the adults programme was generally high. The most popular event was the talk delivered by former Channel 4 and ITN journalist Jon Snow. Events with a local theme were also very popular, and writing workshops continue to be popular, with high attendance at most of the workshops. Despite audience feedback in 2021 and 2022 to continue with online events, we did find audiences harder to engage with on our online Zoom events. It seems audiences are less interested in attending online events now the pandemic has ended. Having said that, online events can present a chance to feature authors who may not be able to travel to Portsmouth, so it's something we will continue to pursue and monitor. In terms of statistics and demographics, the festival remains overwhelmingly a local festival, with 91% of audiences who provided feedback living in the PO postcode area. Of those postcodes, PO6, which is Cosham, Drayton and Farlington, were most represented, followed closely by PO4 and PO5, which is Eastney and Southsea. We have seen this year a notable increase in the numbers of people in the 31 to 40 and 41 to 50 age groups. Looking at the data, it seems some of the writing workshops attracted a younger audience, as did the Jon Snow event. There's also been a notable increase in the number of people who identify as male attending events this year. Men were particularly drawn to the events about Arthur Conan Doyle, City Space, Iconicon, the Hovercraft, Jon Snow, and the Isle of Wight Festival. And finally, we continue to work hard to present more diverse events. This year, the Rap Workshop and the Jon Snow event attracted a more diverse audience, and the LGBT plus panel event was also very popular. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Claire. Members, any comments or questions? Starting with Mary, no?
Just to say thanks, and it's really, really good. Really good.
Thank you.
Councillor Simpson?
Yeah, it seemed to be a very well-attended event, and really good that we had a mixture of, a bit more mixture of audience as well. Hopefully it happen again.
It will. John?
No, I just echo the good work. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very much to everyone who delivered Bookfest again this year. I can remember when, back in the dim and distant past, when Dominic Kippin started it all 13 years ago, and it's continued to be extremely popular part of the city's cultural calendar, and long may that continue. The diversity around it is great to see. Particularly note the strong attendances from the north of the city, which is always popular with certain members in the room, and so it should be. So that's great, and the gender work and diversity work is also very welcome. So good luck with Bookfest 2024.
Thank you.
So in terms of the formalities, the report is noted. Okay. The item 4 on the agenda today is the Cemetery Memorials Management Policy. Who's leading presentation? Is that you, Mark and Jackie? Okay, over to you.
Right, thank you. The procedure outlined in the report has been updated in consideration of professional standards and also benchmark against the adopted procedures of other local authorities. It's important to stress that any memorial purchased and erected on a grave space is owned by the registered grave owner, and it is that person or persons who are ultimately responsible for its upkeep and maintenance. Whilst the memorials are the responsibility of the registered grave owner, Portsmouth City Council has a responsibility for ensuring that its sites are safe for both staff to work in and for the public to visit. The Memorial Management Policy sets out the actions the Council will take to ensure its cemeteries remain safe. All works carried out are following guidance from the Institute of Cemetery and Crematorium Management and in accordance with good industry practice. The order of works to be carried out will be determined by a site-based risk assessment, with higher priority areas being undertaken first. In summary, all memorials over 24 inches in height in all cemeteries will be inspected by trained staff at least once during a rolling 5-year period to assess their safety. This will be done through both visual assessment and a basic hand test to determine if there is movement in the memorial and to what extent. Should a memorial be identified as red and fail the inspection, staff will take immediate action to make that memorial temporarily safe or cordon it off until permanent repairs can be made by the grave owner. Any works will be undertaken by registered memorial masons as required. Laying the memorial flat will be the preferred course of action, although other options are identified in the report and will be considered if required. The cemeteries team will endeavour to contact the grave owner where any action has been taken due to a memorial failing a safety inspection, and it's important to stress that all costs associated with organising a memorial to be repaired remain the responsibility of the grave owner. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mark. Members, any questions? Mary? No? Russell? No? John?
I just thought that statement covered it very well, actually, because I think when we spoke before, I just said about who actually picks up the final tab on it. Would we end up as council picking it up? And that covers it very well. Thank you.
Thanks. Just to point out for anyone watching and for members to pass back should they see anything on social media, we do occasionally see somebody who thinks they're doing a great thing by standing up a headstone themselves in a cemetery. This should be strongly discouraged at all costs. It is extremely dangerous. I've had to step in on Facebook a couple of times and say, please don't do this, because the periodic inspections deal with all of that, and if they're laying down, they're almost certainly supposed to be. So if you do ever see anybody saying that, please intervene. Thank you very much, Mark and Jackie. I think the policy is balanced, because I know we could have gone for a slightly more interventionist approach, which I wouldn't have felt comfortable with. I don't want to see gravestones strapped up all over the place, wreck cemeteries. So we've taken a balanced view, and I think the right one. So thank you very much for all your work, and the report is accepted. Officers, by the way, please don't feel you've got to stay once your item's finished. You've got other things to do, so leave if you need to. Okay, item 5 today is the report from the countryside officers. Who's leading? Is that you, Claire? Okay, over to you.
Thank you, Leader. So this report brings together quite a lot of activity that the service have been undertaking. The Parks Service has a team of highly qualified officers who are well placed to advise on all matters of ecology, botany and diversity. To highlight some of the biodiversity outcomes in the report, at Portsdown Hill, the scrub control management has made the site more accessible for visitors, and the mosaic of grass and scrubland has allowed for a biological enrichment, including the re-emergence of the lizard orchid, which is an endangered species. At Baffin's Pond, steps have been taken to improve the habitat structure of the pond, and this has promoted species such as the marsh marigold and watermint. Management of the grassland has enabled the introduction of wildflower meadow areas in balance to the recreational needs of the site. At Milton Common, again, by undertaking active management to reduce the scrub to 20%, this has allowed the seedbed to recover, which has then seen the growth of bee orchid, tufted vetch and wild marjoram. And at Hillsea Lines, the appropriate management of the meadows has resulted in an amazing display of natural regeneration of hundreds of common spotted orchids. So the report also covers the brilliant contribution by our volunteers in the city, which is managed as a successful co-production model. And the figures for year 22-23 equate volunteer hours of 5.6 FTE. The volunteer model has been grown with new networks having started for the inner city pockets and a new conservation group at Baffin's. The report also covers education and outreach. Managing the sites includes making them more inviting for visitor use, and an example of this includes the pathworks undertaken at Hillsea. Further work to promote the sites and utilise the assets for educational purposes includes talks to local groups, development of interpretation, forest school facilitation, opportunities for corporate away days, promotional local radio and media networks, and opportunities for secondary school age children and students. A considerable amount of work has been undertaken with primary school age groups in conjunction with our museums and library services, which is also detailed in the report. The officers also engage at pop-up events throughout the year, which have included biodiversity-related craft activities for children. New for this year, the service also manages an Instagram page which offers spotting opportunities for young people and adults alike and is key to promoting the fantastic biodiversity we have on offer in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Members, any comments or questions? Mary?
Just to say it's really impressive. Really impressive.
Thank you. Russell, anything?
I guess, am I right in saying it also it's the work that you also with Sustrans and all those groups as well as a combination thing as well? I'm talking because obviously there's a lot of events that kind of happen around the lines and stuff. Are you including that as well with the?
Yes, we are working with Sustrans at the moment, but also we've got coastal defence groups, well, coastal defence at the north as well. So we work with other people that actually need to use the site. So.
Thank you very much. John, anything?
Just great work and on the biodiversity, and it's across the city, so that's really good as well.
Cool. From my personal experience, the expansion of the work that we've been able to do with you guys joining has been really, really welcome. My inbox now has many fewer people commenting on those two particular areas, Baffin's and Milton. Apart from, I see lots of Facebook posts where people are really excited and thrilled to be part of those volunteer opportunities, and they're reporting back on what they're doing. We had a great presentation at Milton Neighbourhood Forum about the work that's going on there, and loads of positive feedback from it. And there was a feature article subsequently in Milton Matters, which has been really well received. Pete and also Richard, who's not here today, with their work on Hillsea Lines and Portsdown Hill, is exceptional and having some really impressive outcomes for biodiversity in those locations. They're not easy sites to manage by any means, but your ongoing commitment and devotion to them is hugely appreciated. It's a really interesting report. If anyone's watching online, I'd urge them to access it and look through the full detail of great work that's happening. So thank you very much, and we'll have another update in due course on how things are progressing. But I think we're in a really good place on this at the moment, and yeah, it's quite exciting. So thank you very much. Reports noted. Okay, item 6 on the agenda today is the Portsmouth School Library Service. Over to Dave.
Okay, thank you, Leader. So the report really details, it's an overview of the school library service, which is a traded service of Portsmouth City Council, part of the wider library archive service. So its funding is entirely from school subscriptions, and they subscribe to a service level agreement with the service. I should point out to members that school libraries, unlike public libraries and prison libraries, aren't statutory, and school library services aren't statutory either. But the good news is that in Portsmouth, our service is subscribed by 100% of academy and local authority schools in the city. We have some independents, and we also serve a handful of West Sussex secondary schools. They don't have a provision for secondary schools in West Sussex. So because school libraries aren't statutory, there's quite a different way that they're run in schools. Sometimes they'll have a librarian role, sometimes it might be a teacher with a library responsibility, it could be an admin member of staff who has responsibility for the library, or it might even be a parent volunteer. But what the school library service does is it ensures that there are a collection of up-to-date, relevant, engaging fiction and non-fiction collections in our school libraries. And children who may not actually access public libraries, we hope, are sure to access school libraries. So we're actually getting that message of reading for pleasure and encouraging it at a very early age. And key to this is the huge amount of reader development activities that the service undertakes every year, from book awards for 3 different age categories, the literature quizzes, which we base in different locations around the city. So, for example, the primary literature quiz is in the Mountbatten Centre, the secondary quiz in the Victory Lounge at Fratton Park. So, really, the report just notes the performance of the service, the reader development initiatives, and you can see some quotes and some data as well on performance over the last year. So it's a very highly regarded service in the city. And as I said, school library services across the country have a very different picture from the one in Portsmouth.
Thanks very much, Dave. Mary, anything? Russell, anything?
I'm guessing we're including the big red as well. The big red.
The big read.
Mobile, yeah.
The
big mobile library. Yeah. It was good to see it at some of these school summer fates as well, and the end of this year. So, yeah, always good.
So the mobile library is part of the public library service, but obviously we were supporting the events at, I think it was Northern Parade, wasn't it? We were down there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Brilliant.
Thanks very much, John. Anything?
Yeah, really good. I think the last time we spoke about it, the big point about year 6, the figures were slightly down, and that was, I asked the question why, and I got the answer to that, so that was good. Thank you. The only thing I just spoke, West Sussex, do we get any funding from them or to actually maintain that service for them? It's good that we're branching out and doing things for other areas.
So those schools purchase the SLA from us, so it doesn't cost us anything. It's an income stream for us. But the West Sussex County Council only provide a primary school service, not a secondary school service. But obviously, we're very keen to be Portsmouth focused, so it's a handful of schools, and we've got to be practical about how far we can go into other authorities.
Thank you for the answer. That's fine. That sounds good, and it's good that we're actually able to give those services, and people look to us to do that. That's really
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes, sure you can.
What do we do with regard to kids that have dyslexia?
So there are a number of dyslexia-friendly books that are available. Happily, the publishing trends now are much more engaging books than they may have been 10, 20, 30 years ago. So there are specific publishers that do books with clear fonts. There's often a lot of electronic ways through colour overlays that people can use over text, e-books as well. So we're well placed to support those needs in the schools too.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yes, and I went to the primary event at Mountbatten and bought a copy of one of the books to see what it is that young people are reading these days. and it was quite a good read, actually. It was Fleur Hitchcock's The Boy Who Flew. Can thoroughly recommend it. It didn't have any pictures, Russell, actually. Thank you very much. But obviously I read it in a few hours, but it was they're engaging books, and the young people are obviously, their knowledge of them. I see there was one round where there was questions, and the young people got better scores than the authors who wrote the books, which was really interesting. And you get to see Dave in a sparkly jacket as well, which is always welcome. But you know, the energy that's in the room on those events is just amazing, and always for me, reading is the number one priority, because it's the gateway to everything else. And the fact that we see that so enthusiastically met across the city, and that we've got 100% buy-in to the school's library service is, as Dave says, a very special thing, and something that we need to make sure that we look after. And Dave, it will be no surprise to you at all to say that I'm eagerly awaiting the outcome of this year's Summer Reading Challenge. But I just wondered if, I'll go to Russell again in a second, but I just wondered, had we had any early feedback on the success or otherwise of the Summer Reading Challenge Plus work that we did in the summer term?
Yes, so we've had 90 pupils, disadvantaged pupils from the north of the city. We targeted north of city schools, and they've all received their certificate and medals and will be invited to the winners event in September. So it's a small number of children, but absolutely the count of children that probably wouldn't have attended libraries during the summer holidays, so they can be a part of the celebrations with the rest of their peers in school.
That's fantastic news. Thank you very much, Russell.
I was going to say there was when they threw a lot of the parties and to talk about obviously different areas for surveying. One of the best attended things in the Hillsey one was actually the story reading and the storyteller that was there. So I think, you know, obviously books is very, very important, and the fact that it's always so highlighted at these little events just shows that we should encourage more of it.
Cool. Thank you very much. Reports noted, and I eagerly await the Summer Reading Challenge one in due course. Just before we finish today, members, you'll note that all the items on there today were from the culture and leisure side of the portfolio. There will be updates from the economic development side of it in the autumn, including an update on the regeneration strategy and the business strategy that's linked to it and how that's going. This happens to be a C&L dominated agenda, but there will be stuff from the economic development team in due course. And as I referenced at full council, there will also be an update report on the Bransbury Park Leisure Centre at the next cycle. So thank you very much for coming today, and that concludes the meeting.